Hi, in this tutorial we're going to make this happy birthday graphic, which can be used in scrapbook pages or posters or flyers or cards or whatever. And we're going to use layer styles, adjustment layers, and blending modes in order to do it. So let's get started. Okay, we have a new 12 by 12 document. Let's grab the type tool and put in some type. Click the check mark and let's just move it in here into the middle. If you want to change your font, just go ahead and select all of your type and then select your font down here, and you can use your up and down arrow key to scroll through the different fonts that you have available on your computer. I'm just going to go back to that first one we had. I want to give that a little bit of a warp, so let's click on the warp icon and let's select flag. You can use the slider to change the warp. If you slide it towards the left, it will reverse the warp. I just want a little bit of a warp. I don't want to go crazy. Just something like that. Click OK and click the check mark. Now I want to make each one of those letters a different color. So I'm going to select my type tool, select the letter. I'll just leave that H the dark blue. Select the A, click down here in your color swatches, and the color swatches will open up. Let's just start picking colors. Just select each letter and then select a color out of your swatches. I'm going to speed this up so it doesn't take quite so long in this video. If you can't find a color that you want in your swatches, you can go ahead and click on the little icon down in the lower right hand corner. And that will open your color picker. And from there you can choose any color you want under the rainbow. Now we have every letter is a different color. I'm going to change the color of this H. I don't like those two dark colors right next to each other. I'm going to change the H to a yellow color. Okay, that looks better. Now I want to put an outline around each one of these letters, and I want to give it a little bit of a bevel. So with that type layer selected, come up under Layer, Layer Style, Style Settings, and I'm going to give it a stroke. A black stroke is fine. Just slide the slider over and it'll increase the size of that stroke. I'm going to go about like that. Then I'm going to give it a bevel. Bevel will give it an embossed effect or a 3D effect. So I'm going to just give it a little bit of a bevel like that and click OK. Now I need to bring in those balloons. Let's go ahead and bring in this blue balloon. This is just in the graphics panel. Let's make it a little bit bigger. This balloon looks pretty flat. I want to make it look round, and I can do that by using a gradient adjustment layer. With the balloon layer selected, let's come up here and click on this icon. This is the adjustment layer icon, and let's click on gradient. Click on the gradient up here and it'll open up the gradient editor. Let's just click on black and white. Click OK. Let's go ahead and make this a radial gradient. And I want to make it white going to black. So let's click on reverse. If you hover over the word scale, your cursor turns into a hand with a double-headed arrow going left and right. Just click and drag and you can change the scale of that vignette. Now we need to move that gradient up onto our balloon, but it's hard to see where our balloon is. For now, let's just go ahead and click and drag it up into the general vicinity of our balloon. Then click OK. We want to clip that adjustment layer to this balloon layer. That way this adjustment layer will only affect the pixels on this balloon layer. You can do that by holding down the Option or the Alt if you're on a PC. Just put your cursor in between those two layers and it turns into a square with an arrow pointing down. Click right there. And now that adjustment layer is only affecting the balloon layer. Now we can see where we're at. Let's double click that adjustment layer again and let's just move that. Let's just move it up about like that. Click OK. Now that's not what we want. We don't want a black balloon. So we're going to use a blending mode to change that. These are your blending modes up here. They're separated into groups. these blending modes will darken, these blending modes will lighten, and these blending modes will add contrast. So they'll lighten the lights and darken the darks. Now there's a keyboard shortcut that you can use to scroll through all of these blending modes. I'm going to show you that in just a minute, but before we do that, you need to make sure that none of these draw tools are selected, because, for example, if we select this brush tool, the draw tools have blending modes of their own. So if one of these tools is selected and you use this keyboard shortcut that I'm going to show you in just a minute, it's going to scroll through these blending modes instead of through the blending modes up here on your layers panel. So a good rule of thumb is just to make sure that your move tool is selected. Now you can select the blending modes and hold down your shift key and hit the plus key, and it'll cycle through your blending modes. Now we're in the darken blending modes. Now we're in the lighten blending modes. And now we're in the contrast blending modes. Overlay and soft light are probably the ones that we'll be most interested in today. If you hold down the shift and hit the minus key, it will cycle back up through those blending modes. And I'm going to leave it right there with overlay. I think that looks good. You can see what it does if I click on the eyeball. You can see what it's doing. It's making this part darker and that part lighter. It's just adding that contrast that we need. That makes it look like it's round instead of flat. Okay, our first balloon is done. Let's put those layers in a group. Just hold down the shift and select both of those layers and hit Command G if you're on a Mac or Control G if you're on a PC. You can also come up here and hit this little icon. That's the group icon. And that will put those layers in a group. And let's name that group Blue. Let's make a copy of that group. Command J on a Mac or Control J on a PC will make a copy. Let's turn down this arrow so you can see what's inside of it. Come up under this adjustment layer icon and click on that, and let's get a hue saturation adjustment layer. Now pull the hue slider over to the left a little bit. Let's change the color. Let's pull that over until that balloon becomes green. That's good. Okay, now we'll change the name of this. This is the green one. Now you could just move this group, but when you do, it doesn't move the gradient with it. So let's go back. What I'm going to do is use these groups as masters. Then I'll make a flattened version of each balloon that we can use to move around in our artwork. So there's the green one. Let's hit Command J to make a copy of the green one. Let's go ahead and make another color. Open up this Hue Saturation and let's just slide this over. It's affecting everything. So we don't want to do that. We need to clip that. Hold down the Option or the Alt. Let's clip that. That was clipped to this one, wasn't it? Nope. We need to make sure that's clipped. That was our problem. Okay. That was changing the color of everything. Okay, we'll leave this red. Let's name this red. Let's make one more. We'll make a dark blue one. Command J or Control J and double click on this hue saturation adjustment layer. Let's move this hue slider to the right to make this balloon a dark blue. And then let's name that group Dark Blue. Okay, now those are our masters or our templates that we're going to use. Those are our working files. I'm going to make a copy of this group and then flatten the layers that are in that group and then move that layer out of the group, and we're going to place that around in our artwork. Hit Command J or Control J if you're on a PC to make a copy of that group. Turn down this arrow. Select all the layers in that group by holding down the shift and clicking on those layers. Then hit Command E or Control E if you're on a PC to merge all those layers into one layer. Hold down the Control and click on that group, or if you're on a PC, right click on that group and choose Ungroup. Now that blue balloon is all on its own layer. Let's do the same thing with that red balloon. Let's go ahead and turn the visibility of these layers off. Command J to copy it. Turn the arrow down. Select all the layers within that group. Command E or Control E to put them all on one layer. Control click or right click on the group and select Ungroup. Now our red balloon is all on one layer. Hold down the mouse and just grab that layer and just slide it up. When the line between the layers gets thick and black, just drop it right there. Now we've got our blue balloon and our red balloon. Let's turn the visibility of that one off. And that one. Now we have our green balloon. Do the same thing. Command J or Control J. Turn the arrow down. Select all the layers within that group. Command E or Control E. Control click on a Mac, right click on a PC, right on that group, select Ungroup, and let's just slide that up out of the way. Okay, let's do the same thing with our light blue. Select that group, Command J or Control J, turn the arrow down, select all of our layers, Command E or Control E, puts it all on one layer, Control click on a Mac, right click on a PC, right on that group, Ungroup, and slide that up. Now we can turn the visibility of all these groups off. These are templates or masters that we can use if we ever want to go in and make any changes or make any new balloons or new colors. We can use those. We'll use the balloons on the single layers to move around and place in our artwork. We can rotate them, we can resize them, we can copy them, and we can move them around anywhere we want in our artwork. And because they're all on their own single layer, it's very easy to do that. Let's grab the red one and move it over here. And let's grab the green one and move it over here. And let's rotate it just a little bit. Now we just have the blue one left over here. Let's go ahead and leave that over there. Let's copy the green one. Command J, Control J. Let's move our green copy over here and let's rotate it just a little bit. And let's slide it down just a little bit. Let's copy that red one. Command J or Control J, and let's slide it over to the other side. You can move these around if you want. Now I want to move our type to be at the very top. So let's just grab our type layer, hold the mouse button down, and just drag that happy birthday layer up to the top until that line gets thick and black right at the top. Right there, and now our happy birthday's on the top, our balloons are in the background, and we're done. Now we need to save this. You want to save this first as a Photoshop document or a PSD document because that will keep all of the layers. You want to keep all of the layers in case you ever want to come back. You can come back next week, next year, 10 years from now and make changes to this if you want, as long as you've got all those layers. Let's save it first as a PSD, so let's come up here under File, Save As, find the folder you want to save your document to, give your document a name, make sure Photoshop is chosen here, and then click Save. Now you want to save this as a PNG file. A PNG file will flatten it, but it will also preserve your transparency. You need to have that transparency if you want to drag this into another scrapbook page or a flyer or a poster or anything else. You need to have that background transparent. If you turn off the visibility of this white background, now you have transparency. If you save that as a JPEG, it will automatically flatten it and put in a white background. So we need to save it as a PNG file. Let's crop it first. Come over here and get your crop tool. I have no restrictions down here. If you have one of these other presets selected, it may not crop the way you want it. So the best thing is to have no restrictions, and then you can just crop it the way you want. You can just move these handles. These little squares around the outside are called handles. You can move them to get it the way you want it. I want to make sure that I have these strings in there. I don't want to cut them off. But I don't want to have it so big that I have a lot of extra space on there. That should be fine. Click OK. Now we've got our transparent background. Let's go ahead and come up under File, Save As. Now it's going to keep the same name. It just added edited -1 on the end of it. That's fine. Just want to make sure that you click on PNG file and click Save. I usually give it no compression. A PNG file uses a lossless compression, so you can go ahead and compress it and it won't lose any quality. If you have a big enough hard drive, I just don't compress it. You can compress it if you want. Click OK. And we're done. Now you can use that PNG file to drag into any other document that you want. So that's the end of this tutorial. We used quite a few different things. We used the layer styles, we used adjustment layers, we used blending modes. Don't forget to hit subscribe and share this with your friends. I try to make one tutorial every week. Thanks for joining me in this one, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Thanks. Bye.